Welcome to episode 2 of
Mom's the Word, where mom knows best.
Or at least she's trying her best.
I know that is right.
That's so true. Cyndi, I'm going to be a little nosy for a second here, okay? Because I want to talk about foster care. And I know nothing about foster care. So just pretend I'm not your friend. You have never told me a single thing that happens.
Okay.
I want to know, what's it like from the very moment that you get that phone call?
Okay, so for a little backstory, I've been a foster parent for 3 years. I've been through this. We've placed 12 to 14 kiddos have come to our home. So the first night is always interesting, and a lot of people think they know what it goes like, but it's a lot calmer than you think.
I would imagine it to be pure chaos.
Right. So some moments are. So what happens is we receive a phone call from the state.
Okay.
Literally, CPS is calling you or your agency. And they give you a brief description of the child. Very vague.
Your agency? Wait. There's an agency for foster care?
Yeah, so there's CPS.
Okay.
Which is the state, Child Protective Services.
Of course.
And then there are private agencies that work in, coherence with CPS. And so, like our agency is the one who does the background checks on us, does our home study, does our walkthrough, make sure that we are doing everything we are doing to be the best.
To standards.
They check the standards.
Okay.
And so they'll call, they usually will send an email or it comes through on, the agency's computer, like, 3-year-old, white, female, something like that.
That's all they'll tell you. Real vague.
That's what we'll tell you. And they'll usually tell you the county that they're in.
Okay.
And they'll say like, they'll call you, say, hey, Hoffers, are you guys available to take placement? And so you say yes, or you say no. Let's say you're out of town, you can say no, things like that.
Yeah.
It's up to you. And so once you say yes to that child, they put you into the system and you go in with sometimes a handful of other foster parents, because it's not just you getting a call. It's a group of foster parents who can all take this 6-year-old child.
Oh, so they don't even have like one person in mind. They're genuinely just looking for anyone.
Yes.
Okay.
So CPS actually tries family first. No matter what, they try 3 family members that the biological family gives them.
The night that the child
is taken,
okay,
that parent is able to give them a list of people that they think can potentially care for their child.
And these people are suited type of situation. And they figured out that night if they're suited?
Yeah, they have to.
Oh my gosh.
So sometimes that happens and sometimes they don't answer or, predicaments. There's just different things why people say no.
Where's the child at during this?
At the CPS office.
Do they have like TVs
yes.
and
yes.
stuff like that?
So at the CPS office, there are rooms, there are cribs, there's food. There's almost like a closet of clothing, diapers, wipes there. So that way when the kid comes into the CPS office, they have everything they need to care for that child for the next couple of hours. Mm-hmm. I've had a call at 9 a.m. and I'm not getting placed till 5 p.m.
Oh, wow.
Yes. So it's a lot of variables that go into it. So anyways, once they get past, looking into the family members, if there's nobody, it goes to foster parents. So once we say yes, we wait again for another call from CPS after that saying, your house has been chosen. This child is in your region or in your county. We will be there in 30 minutes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So it's like a waiting game in between. Like we've waited literally 3 hours for them to be like CPS to call us and say, hey, we're on our way to your house right now.
It sounds like the Army. We used to say like, hurry up and wait.
Yeah.
Is what it was.
Yeah.
It was like, hurry up, get your stuff
like,
done, and then you wait.
Yeah. Because you're like, okay, am I gonna get this newborn baby right now? Like you can't do anything yet because you don't know.
Right.
And so then once they call you, it is go 100%. We are pulling things out of our garage because most foster parents keep a stockpile of at least pajamas or a few outfits in every size. Right. I keep a crib, a toddler bed, things like that for their first night. Diapers of every size, things like that. And so it's go time.
Right.
You're getting your home ready. And that way, when the child arrives, you're in a calm environment now because CPS shows up at your door with this child who is either exhausted, distraught, just had the most traumatic experience of their life.
Right.
And you're there as a stranger opening your door.
Right.
Now that has looked different for every child that I've, received. I've received a lot from the hospital and that's always heartbreaking. I cry with every single child that gets placed with me, but imagine a newborn baby. That was just
cried
one.
with you this most recent time. I definitely cried with you whenever you called me.
Yeah. But once CPS arrives, it's a quick experience. So we do paperwork, a whole stack of it.
It's just one person?
Sometimes it's two. Sometimes it's two. Okay. Just 1 or 2 CPS workers. And basically they come in, they'll tell you what they know about the child. So let's say the child's 3. The parents could have told certain things about them.
Mhm.
Most times they don't. Unfortunately, it's a fast thing. They remove quickly, but sometimes they do. I've had ones who said, like, they take this formula, or they try to give information they can give.
Right.
A lot of times there's none. And then you do the state paperwork. You sign like 50 documents, that you're their medical consent now, all of the things. And then they
'Cause you're
leave.
responsible for them,
Yeah. And then they walk out of your house.
and they just leave you with this new kid.
New kid. And that is always the scariest night for everybody.
Yeah. Okay, so can you tell me what that night might look like for you? Like, say you just been placed, you
Yeah.
just had a kid come in.
Yeah.
It's 5 p.m. What are you gonna do?
So Chris always comes home, my husband. He always comes home to help me with the placement, even if he's
That's
working.
so nice.
Yeah, that's something that we always agreed on.
And
Um,
his job is cool with that.
yes.
That's such a blessing.
Yes. It's just very important to have that.
Oh, yeah, you
We
need
are in
all
this
hands on deck.
100%. Exactly. So he comes home, and as I'm doing paperwork, he has already taken the child to our playroom, to the TV room, and just showing them around. Very
Yeah.
calm while the workers are there, because they had just spent 4 hours with the workers.
Right.
So we're like, okay, let's show them around, kind of vibe with what they want to do. Some kids are coming in crying, and Chris is holding and
Mhm.
rocking. Some kids are just exhausted, so he's sitting on the couch with them. And it has looked different for every child that's come to my home. So usually, the newborns are in a car seat that they take with them. They don't leave me that car seat. And so, yeah.
Oh, wow.
And so
I mean,
we
I
have,
guess that makes sense as they have their own stuff
yes,
that they would need to keep, and
yes,
then they would expect you to supply certain things. Now,
absolutely.
did they give you a budget whenever you became a
No,
foster parent to go
no,
for it and be like, "Let me get some diapers and a car
no,
seat and a little stockpile"? Nothing.
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 We got everything on our own. Some states do give a stipend in the beginning and things like that. So we get a monthly stipend. Every single foster parent gets a monthly stipend from the state,
Mhm.
and that is to provide enough, money for the child throughout the month.
Essentials.
Essentials,
Right.
diapers, things like that. It's not that much money, but it definitely, is beneficial for the child. It
Of
goes into the
course.
child.
Yeah, they need that.
Absolutely. Extracurriculars, clothing, everything, especially in the beginning when they come with nothing.
Yeah.
So yeah, that first night's pretty rough. We assessed the situation. Lots of chilling, honestly. Like
Right. Just
I'm
trying to
holding
relax.
usually. So once, CPS leaves, I will like take over into mom mode. I'm doing a lot of just like holding and calm, and um, you know, give them a blanket they can choose from. We always do that in our home.
Where they like get to choose one to keep for
Hmm.
that entirety. So it's like a safe little keeping.
Yeah, because what people don't know is that like sometimes they'll come with, let's say, a blanket,
Mhm.
and we'll be advised to put that blanket away or get rid of that blanket. And that's one of the hardest things I feel as a foster parent, because
Yeah.
let's say a child is coming from a home with substance is on drugs and substance is on those articles. And
Oh.
it's unfortunate, but we have
Yeah.
to do that. So we like to, like, okay, look at these blankets and choose one. But it's very calm. I've had children cry all night, and I'm laying on the floor. It just looks very, in our home, it's just very calm. I'm
Right.
laying on the floor, I'm, rocking them, and just trying to give them what they need. If they feel like they need space, I'm
Mhm.
sitting on the floor. First night I'm not leaving,
Right.
because I just don't know how they're going to
You stay
react.
with them the
Yeah.
entire night.
Because if they wake up in the middle of the night, they're in this random bedroom.
Yes, they're in a dark space. They don't even know this home.
Yeah.
Okay, that
And as
makes
soon as they
total
enter my
sense.
home, I am mama bear,
Yeah.
right? I'm not their mama, but I have to be what they're lacking now.
Yeah.
And so it's
It's heavy.
it's very heavy,
That's
and it's sad, and I cry, and it's just, I can't imagine what the mom is going through.
Oh my gosh, me either.
Yeah, and so I
That was
do.
with your most recent placement. That was especially as I was
Yes.
pregnant. Whenever you
Yes.
told me, I was like, I cannot imagine. This baby was brought to you straight from the hospital,
Yes.
and so I just could not imagine being that mother
No.
in that hospital room without their child. That and to have such kindness, I think that you are such a great person that genuinely inside of you, you think for them just
Oh,
as much
thank you.
as you do for the kids.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And you know what it is? Just like the mother in me is yearning, because I know what that felt like to have a baby and those emotions,
Mhm.
and have my child with me, right? And have those
Yes.
emotions. But to have it stripped from you, I couldn't even imagine.
No, my youngest was in the NICU, and it
Yes.
was, I mean, she's right there. She's just down the hallway.
Yes.
And I would sob, even just going to the room just to eat. I would
Yes.
just cry because I just wanted my baby back. They've been attached to me all this time, and now they're out, and you're telling me I can't be in there? I
Yeah.
have to go in there. That's my child.
Yes.
I can't imagine.
And what people don't realize is that even a newborn baby 1 day old is experiencing trauma being taken from their mom. That
Absolutely.
child knows your heartbeat. That child knows your smell. That child knows everything
Your
about
voice,
you.
everything.
Uh-huh. And so even though they come to me, and for a baby, the sad part is they do transition really easily to
Yes.
another caregiver as long as you're giving the love and being a mom.
Yeah.
But you're never going to replace that sound. They still yearn for their mother,
Of course.
and it takes
The natural instinct.
absolutely.
How old is the oldest child you've ever had placed in your home?
So for us, we have when we started fostering, my oldest son, now he's 7, he was 2, and so we've always taken him as our oldest.
Mhm.
Um, so we do birth order, which means that we would like our oldest son, Bear, to be the oldest in our family because I had a biological son,
Okay.
and so from a long time, a foster mama had told me that she's like, try to take birth order so your child always feels like the big brother, and so instead of putting someone above him, so we've always taken younger than him. So basically, now we are taking 6 and under.
Okay.
We would love to one day take older. We
Right.
just know that Bear right now, his brain is very absorbing, and
Yes.
older kids he gravitates towards. And
Yes.
so kids come with a lot of trauma, and I don't want to give trauma to all the other littles in my home.
Yes. Of
Even
course.
even my other children in my home are experiencing foster care. I don't want them to take on that trauma. So currently for our family, what works is 6 and under. But one day we definitely want to do older.
And you like this. You like fostering.
Yeah.
Like this is your thing. You're like good
Yeah.
at it.
Well, like I don't know if I'm good at it, but I love being a mom,
Yeah.
and I would love a lot of children, and I thrive when I am taking care of babies. Like
Yeah.
it's just what I do. Like I just feel like I have this mama bear in me that is just nurturing
Mhm.
and can make a baby feel safe and make people feel safe. And to give that gift to these children who lost everything that wasn't their choice
Right.
is all I can do.
And I think that's a big part of it is that it's not these kids' fault
Absolutely
that
not.
this is happening to them. And kind of like we were talking about in the last episode, I'm sure there is a part of them that feels like this is my fault.
Oh yeah,
I
because
can't.
older ones, they see a lot, and they'll even say things about what happened, and you have to
Yeah.
say like, none of this was your fault. You shouldn't have seen that. This
That's not normal.
that's not a normal environment.
Right.
Yeah,
All while still trying to make them believe that their parent is the best parent
absolutely.
because you can't talk bad about them either. And
No,
not that you would ever, but
no,
you wouldn't.
no. Because I see so many people. I've been through reunification a lot now
Yeah.
to know that people change and they
Mhm.
love their kids. Like sometimes the system gets this narrative that these people don't love their kids. If they can hurt them like this, they don't love them. But a lot of times there's something else taking over
Absolutely.
their environment, their situation they're in that made them make those choices. And it's unfortunate, and that sounds sad because it is a choice, but these parents change and they love these kids. And I think
Yeah.
that's why reunification is so big to me because I see that they love them.
Yeah.
It's not that they wanted to hurt them, and they did, and now it's time to get it back.
Yeah.
And so that's why I like to co-parent with them and try to be a team because when they say it takes a village, it does.
Absolutely.
Because a lot of these, bio moms that I have encountered, they didn't have nobody telling them what to do.
Right.
And so it's nice to like kind of be that for them as well.
Right. To give them something that they feel like they don't have. I bet I can guarantee that's a hard thing for somebody who
Yeah.
is trying to raise a child that doesn't feel like they have a village.
Yeah.
I have a village, but they're far away, if
Yeah.
that makes sense. Like I live about an hour from any of my close family and friends outside of you
Yeah.
and Mark's ex-wife and her family. But Mark's family is local. And I have always been from a smaller community.
Hmm.
And even being the kid that didn't feel like she fit in the family, I still find moments where I really miss that community and
Yeah.
that village. I can't just call up my mom on a Saturday night and be like, "Hey, come over. We're gonna run to the movies. Come hang out with your grandkids." Like,
Yeah.
no, it's more like a, "Hey, on September 20th, for 3 hours, can we schedule to do this?" Because it's just not as relaxed as it used
Absolutely.
to be whenever you have this quote unquote village. And I will say that even as someone who has it available with proper scheduling, it's still hard. My best friend is a single mom, and so she doesn't have much of a village outside of us. And so I guarantee you, if you are the listener that is feeling like that, we see you.
We
We
do.
see you so bright and clear for how strong and incredible you are. And I'm so sorry that that is
Yes.
the hand that you've been dealt. I wish that everybody had a community that they felt like they could trust for their children, because I think that is so hard.
Oh, it's so hard to
We don't
find.
trust
No.
anything for our kids ultimately.
Mm-mm.
And so I think that whenever you don't have that, that has to be rough.
It
has
is.
to be really rough.
And it's easier said than done, right? They're like, build your own village. But
Yes.
it's still very hard on everybody else's schedule, on time, on how, things are going, financially. It is hard to build
Yeah.
that village and have somebody that you truly think has good intentions for not only you, but your kids.
Yeah.
Like, that's a
Oh
scary
man,
thing.
yes. Especially because you have to trust that if you leave your child around somebody, that the things that are coming out of their mouth
Mhm.
are good things that your
Yep.
child should hear. I know as a child I was around a lot of people that my parents probably, if they knew the conversations that were had or the things that
Mhm.
we had done, they probably wouldn't have let me be around them. Because
Right.
even though, I mean, obviously my mom wasn't around. My stepmom was. She was very active. My dad worked a lot whenever I was little. So whenever he met my stepmom, she had a family, but my dad really didn't.
Mhm.
So like I can remember before my stepmom came into the picture, I would ride in the back of the truck with my dad to like go to work and to deliver like x-ray technician business and x-ray fluid, because back then it was not digital x-rays.
Right.
Back then it was like you ran it through the machine, you had to dip it in the dark room and all that stuff. That's what my dad did whenever I was little. So I would ride in the back of his truck with him and deliver all of these things. And he didn't really have that. He was a 21-year-old,
Yeah.
He didn't really have the whole village and such
No.
like that. So he really did start to make his own village of people. And I think that, as a parent, you do your best and you do what you think is right, and you're trying your hardest. And I genuinely can credit him in that sense that like I know he tried his hardest.
Yeah.
He didn't always make the right decisions.
Yeah.
And I was definitely put into some positions that I probably shouldn't have been in had somebody protected me from the community that I was around. But I don't think that it was ill intent. I think that, of course, there are parents that don't care and they'll just let you hang out with whoever.
Yeah.
And then there are parents who made a mistake, but they tried.
Yeah.
And there's a big difference in those two parents there.
Absolutely. And sometimes, as a parent, you build a village for yourself and your kids, it might not be the best one for them.
Yes.
Because
oh my gosh, yes.
What we need as an adult, as a woman, could be completely different than what our kids need. So for us moms, the village we have to build has to also include our children.
Right, because you can't do one or the
No.
other. You
Yeah.
really genuinely can't be selfish in that sense of, well, this village is what's making me feel bright.
Exactly.
Your child then comes first.
Yep.
So then you have to weed out relationships and friendships that you've had for years. I had to do that. Now that we're talking about that, I had to do that. I had a friend who I'd been friends with for a few years and really had helped me through some dark times, which we'll get into much, much, much later if I'm lucky.
Yes.
But helped me through a lot of really dark times. And whenever I became a mom, that person was just not good for me as a mother.
Yes.
And I can remember them being like, I can't wait to see the baby and come over and watch the baby. And I was like,
no,
you are never watching my child. I was like, no way. I was terrified, but that's so true.
But you love them as who they are.
100%. Love them. So much fun.
Yes.
Not around my child.
Yep.
Yeah. Totally different environment, time and place type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I haven't seen that person. I will say even as much as I love them.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you're a cool person. I could never as a mother. It doesn't resonate with who I am now.
But not everybody's mind clicks like that. Like you realize that.
Yeah.
But some don't until it's too late.
Oh,
and so that's when it affects your child lifelong.
Right. Yeah.
And so that's really, really hard. And then you have to put that on yourself and hopefully you can change from that.
All back to the mom guilt.
Literally.
All back. It's a never ending circle.
Never ending circle.
It's never ending.
Guilt.
You're never enough.
No, we're not.
Oh gosh. Okay. So let's go back into the foster care thing, because I'm going to be nosy about this. I know y'all are nosy with me, so I'm going to ask.
I feel like people should
all
be.
the questions.
Yeah.
You want me to ask her? Okay. So once they're placed, right? So we've gone through the first night. You're calm. You're good. You're getting them into a routine, obviously.
Yes.
What are some of the things by the state that you're required to do as a foster parent?
Yeah. So within the first 3 days of receiving a child, you have to take them to a doctor's appointment.
Just a regular pediatrician?
Yes.
Okay.
So you find your pediatrician and they're doing a full physical of this child.
Okay.
So they check their whole body for bruises, all of the things.
Okay.
And a lot of those times we'll find out things like, oh, this child's had a UTI or this cough or things like that. It's really thorough
Okay.
just to make sure that there's any marks or things like that's getting checked off.
Documented, yeah.
Documentation.
Well, especially because I'm sure not only do they need to provide that information to the state,
Mhm.
but as well as they kind of want to compare to make sure that you're a proper step parent.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And then after that, within the first 30 days, you have to do a dental appointment, which within you just have to have it like scheduled within 30 days to make sure the state's basically making sure you're properly going to take care of this child,
Right.
because a lot of the time they aren't receiving that care.
Right.
A lot of them aren't up to date on shot records and things like that.
I wasn't. Did you
Yeah.
know that?
No.
I did not have any of my shots until I was 5. Yeah, so this is crazy. This is a weird little side story here, but that just totally sparked. So, whenever I went to start kindergarten, my stepmom
Yeah.
was like, I'm a pediatrician, and she was like, "So, can I get her shot records for the school?" And my pediatrician looked at her and was like, "Uh, she's never had any shots here."
Yeah.
So then she was like, "What do you mean?" Because she came into my life whenever I was 3.
Yeah.
And so they then started looking into it, and I'd never had any of my vaccines as a baby. Any of them.
Ever.
Not from the moment that I left the hospital. I'd never been given a vaccine. So in 92, there was no such thing as exemptions for like even personal beliefs or any of that. You were required to get your vaccines if you wanted to start school. So the summer right before kindergarten, I got all of them that you were required to get. They would get like 6 at a time. It's led me to such deep.
I was just gonna say that it probably affected you.
Trauma that I will start sweating just taking my children to get theirs. I'll start crying because I'm afraid for them more than they are.
Yeah.
It's so bad, and I'm trying so hard to not show that to them.
Oh yeah.
I don't want to push that onto them, but I get into this state of panic because of what I went through as a child. It's fun how it all carries
And again,
over.
out of your control.
It was out of my control.
Out of your control.
Yeah, but I'm the one that had to deal with the consequence of it. And I can remember it. I can remember it all, like so vividly. I can remember the nurses. I can remember the stupid calendar that they had on the wall with 13 different cats on it.
Oh my
Okay.
goodness.
I remember it all. I remember the toys my mom would promise if I didn't scream.
Yeah.
And we were not financially well off then. So I was on Medicaid. We would
Yeah.
go to the clinic, and it's like this small, tiny room with a bunch of old people coughing. And
Oh my gosh.
then there's me in like the corner with this like one little thing that you play with that like loops around and stuff.
So crazy you remember every detail.
Only traumatic things though. It's so wild. It's like I could see it though, like a picture in my brain. Mom's the Word podcast is recorded at the Museum of Neon Lights in Frisco, Texas.
It is a selfie studio open to the public.
Mention the podcast and you'll get an exclusive 10% off.
So what else I have to take them to go do that a lot of people don't know about is that sometimes I have to take them to have a drug test. And that could be a urine test, or what I've had most likely, or I've had most of the time, is a hair follicle test where they will literally shave a little piece of the child's head.
Oh my
And
gosh,
so
of course.
I always like go through that, like trying to make it like a happy experience when it's not one at all.
Oh man,
Yes.
especially for like a little girl.
Yes. It can be very, that's why I think of you. I'm like, oh my God, I have to do all these things for them. But I try to not make them traumatic. You know, I say, we're going to go to this appointment.
Of course.
And, get a Slurpee after, but still these poor children have to.
They remember the negative.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then lastly, a huge one that I've had to encounter and a lot of other foster parents have had to do is take them to be checked out for sexual abuse. And that is one of the hardest things that I've ever had to done.
Cyndi.
And I know lots of other foster parents who have been through it with a lot of older kids, and that is very heavy.
Of course.
And so you have to take them to a specific area and they have to check certain things. And it's just, that is traumatic.
It's invasive.
Very invasive.
Oh, and they're babies. You've had babies to have to do that. That's just so sad.
Yeah. And so what us foster parents have to go through, and every kid's not like that. Some are just an appointment, a physical, and we're good. But every now and then, we do deal with sexual assault cases. We do deal with big, drug cases and neglect cases. And so what we see is very heavy.
Yeah.
And so I have to like put on this mask as to like, okay, this is very heavy, but we still have to do visits. It's mandated to do visits and things like that. So,
you have to make them want to feel safe enough to go back to.
Yeah.
You genuinely have to put that if that safety has been taken from them
Yeah.
and they remember it all.
Absolutely.
You
So a lot
have
of times I put my emotions to the side on everything.
Do you
Most of the
talk to
time.
anybody about this stuff? Like
No.
how heavy it is? You probably should.
And I do think about that all the time. Is people ask me like, "How are you doing with this?" And
Yeah.
I don't talk to anybody, and I just feel like once the child has gone home, it's been a long journey. A lot of the children I've had have been a year long, if
Yeah.
not longer. It's been a long journey for me to not only get my emotions in order with the child, but also go through that with them. And so by the time it's time for them to leave, I'm more heartbroken, you know, about them leaving me. And I want them to leave. It's this bittersweet thing, and I'm so excited for them.
Right.
But like my last placement was 18 months, and so it is one of the hardest things you're
It's
going
a
to have
long
to do.
time.
Right. And so I should talk to somebody.
Yeah.
I encourage everybody else to talk to somebody.
Yeah.
It is very heavy.
Because even as one of, I'm just going to say it, as one of your best friends, I'm just going to claim that title now. As one of your closest friends, you don't even tell me the nitty gritty
Right.
of the cases.
And that's what the hard thing is we're not allowed to tell anybody, really.
Right.
So like
You genuinely don't get to vent.
no. So even
to
like
your
me
safe
talking
space.
now, I'm being very vague. Like I'm
Yeah.
saying there's sexual assault cases, but I'm not telling you exactly what is happening.
You can't.
I can't. So like in my mind, I know exactly why all 13 of the children who have entered my home, what has happened to them.
Yeah.
They've all been valid. They have all been sad, and something that a child has gone through, something harder than an adult has, is
Yes.
very devastating.
And then you have to look at that parent and you know
Exactly.
that they did that and
Yep.
that they put their child in that position, and you have to look at them and think, you're capable of coming out of this.
Yes.
You're capable of taking this back.
Yes.
That's such a powerful thing, Cyndi. That's incredible. I mean, I know I'd say this to you a lot, but you're genuinely an angel of a
Oh,
human
thank
to be capable of
Thank
doing
you.
that. And I think the dynamic between you and Chris as foster parents
yeah.
in general and your relationship is so perfect for this type of career.
Yeah, that's something that's huge, is that like if you're going to be a foster parent, your partner needs to be 100%.
Oh,
Like it's not 50% on me, 50%. No, we're both 100%
yeah.
investing into these children's mentally, physically, emotionally,
Mhm.
and really putting ourselves into them, giving all of ourselves.
Absolutely. And to be frank, you should reach for that with your own kids.
Oh, absolutely.
Too. You should reach
Absolutely.
for 100% from every parent, but we know that that's not always. I mean, some days I show up and I've got 80%.
Absolutely.
And I'll look at Mark and I'll say, I've got 80%
But
in the
he
tank.
has the rest.
And he'll go, I have 20.
That's
I'll
right.
meet you there.
That's right.
And so we meet and we're at 100.
That's exactly what it
Some
takes
days
right
he
there.
comes home and he says, I've got
Mhm.
30 in the tank. And I'm like, it's okay, babe. I'll meet that extra 70
Yep.
for you. Like I'll pick
Absolutely.
up the extra slack. Having
That was the perfect
communication
example. Yes.
It's the only way. It's
The
the
only
only
way.
way to survive
Yeah.
parenthood. Because at the end of the day, we are constantly putting somebody in front of ourselves.
Yes.
You are constantly caring for that child's needs before your own. I can be exhausted. I could be vomiting. And if my child is hungry, I have to
gonna
get up and go
That's
feed
right.
him. Like
That's
you
right.
don't get the moment to put yourself first and say, I'm sorry, but I'm going to be selfish here.
Yeah.
Because at that point, you're neglecting a child who has no ability to care for
Yeah.
themselves. And that's just not fair.
Yeah. So now that you say that, like I put myself first in front of a lot of people.
Yeah.
Not only like, my own family, but I'm taking children into my home.
Of
And
course.
literally the day they get there, they're my children.
Yes.
I am treating them like my own. And a lot of the time I do forget about myself.
Yeah.
And that's like one of the hardest things that I do struggle with, because I pour so much of myself into these children. And then when one leaves, like recently, after 18 months, we've had 2 children leave us, and I took a break. I get a lot of people like, why don't you keep going? There's more kids, there's more kids, there's more kids. But what they're not realizing is that I'm taking on trauma,
Yes.
I'm taking on emotions, and I'm taking on grief now.
Yes.
And so like a lot of people don't realize that, is that now I'm grieving a loss.
Of
I
course.
absolutely am. Do I think they need to be with their parents? Yes, I do. 100%. I was fully into it.
Above all else.
But I'm also going to grieve that I took care of them 24/7.
Your feelings are valid.
Exactly.
Your feelings are completely valid.
And so for me to take small breaks in between, which I've never done before, was very important for me and my mental health.
Right.
Just to let me just not take on someone's trauma for a moment.
Yeah.
Just for a moment.
Right. And you do have a foster love, though, in
And I
your
do.
home. So it's not like you just took a break and
And I
it's
do.
just you
Yep.
guys hanging out.
Yes.
You are currently
Our home has
fostering.
never just been like empty.
No.
No. So like I currently have a foster love who I've had for 8 months. And so from the hospital. And
Yeah.
so
I remember that night.
Yeah. And so he's seen, children leave now. My biological son sees them come and go. And so we needed a little break.
Of course.
And so it was a nice break, but We will be taking on more children.
You've opened the doors again.
We've opened the doors.
It could happen right now.
Literally now.
That's
yeah. And yeah, so something I'm always like, is my phone gonna ring?
Right.
But
do you have a special ringtone for that?
No.
I would be the person to set a special ringtone so that I never missed a phone call. I have one for Mark, and I may or may not ignore it sometimes. No, I don't, honey.
I don't think I have a special ringtone for anybody. I know.
You're gonna get one for me.
Oh. Can't wait to see what it is.
Okay, so now we've talked a lot about the things that you're like willing to talk about, obviously, but there has to be things that people ask you that's like, that's too much.
Yeah.
That's crossing a boundary here. Like that's crossing a line, especially online,
Yeah.
where no boundaries exist,
Right.
and people can just say whatever they want
Right.
to you.
Yeah.
What are some of the things that you're like, I don't want to be asked this about my journey?
Yeah. So sharing online, there's this thing, or people think that is like, I can ask them anything and they have to answer me. And a lot of times I will not answer them. And so sometimes I come off as I'm being just, cold shouldering their question. I'm being rude. When in actuality, I am protecting
a child,
a family.
Yes.
And so a lot of times boundaries that are being crossed is, why is this child here? A lot of the time.
As if you would jump on TikTok
or
and make
they
a story
assume
time.
something.
No.
Like if that baby, he has a diaper rash, guys, help me with like a cream. Oh, his mom did drugs. Like it's literally these assumptions that cross lines all the time that really it just, why do we have to put that onto a child that?
Because the child is the only one you're putting that on.
Exactly. And so like I like to tell people, like I share my journey as a foster parent. I'm not sharing this child's experience in foster care.
Period.
And so to me, that's really important. There's a fine line. What I share with you is enough.
Yes, absolutely. I agree with that.
So a lot of time also people will ask like, how long are they going to be with you? What, is he having visits? Is this someone? And I can't tell you that. No. Sometimes you'll catch me saying, okay, we're heading to a visit when things progress in certain ways.
Right.
But I have to build a brick wall around this child.
Exactly. You're protecting them. That's what they were placed into your care for, is protection.
Yeah. And then other boundaries that people just ask, ask if this baby was on drugs. Like if you're at the park, people will say, oh, did the family do drugs? Or they just assume things,
And I bet you have a lot of park run-ins. I know that you had one time where they were judging you for not being a breastfeeding mom. Yes. And she was like, well, this is my foster child.
Yeah.
Can't really do that.
It's more that. So like she's talking about an instance, we were at the park and I was with the mom and she was breastfeeding her child. I believe this is a while now. And I was bottle feeding.
Yeah.
And they were saying like, oh, he won't take a bottle, like, or no, he won't take a breast, like did something of that along those lines. And I was just like, he's my foster child. And I think at that time I said, he's, I'm not his mom. And I, if we could, and I kind of explained it to her in a way, I would love to, give him what he needs. That's all he needs is, formula or whatnot.
Right.
But
fed is best. We believe fed is best here. Exactly. We don't care what method you're using as long as you're feeding your children.
Yeah. But it just ended up being like a weird situation because she was judging me really quickly on bottle feeding, which is so weird to me.
It's a weird thing that moms judge each other, period, to me at this point in life. I know, like, I'm experiencing motherhood. I know how hard it is. The last thing I'm going to do is look at you sideways because you're experiencing it with me. It's hard. Yes. Like there are moments
but you don't know people's circumstances.
True.
Like as soon as I was like, oh, well, I couldn't breastfeed him. He's in foster care. Her demeanor like literally changed.
Right.
She's
backpedaling,
apologizing, things like that. And so it's just sometimes people are really uneducated about the foster care system. And that's why I share on the internet. And so to me, it's more important for me to share my journey than to not share at all. Because when you hear foster care, foster parent, sometimes you think negatively.
Well, and I'll tell you, for me, I immediately kind of think teenagers.
Okay.
I don't immediately go into babies.
Yeah.
Because it's not in my brain that is something that happens.
Yeah.
But it is. So
it is.
I wouldn't look at a mom with a new baby and think that could be a foster kid.
Yeah.
It's not something for me in my brain, or children experiencing foster care.
Yes.
It's not in my brain to think that a baby would be. In every depiction in Hollywood, it's always a foster home filled with a bunch of teenagers, and the babies are always adopted first or given foster homes first, those things. And it's all the teenagers. So for whatever reason, my brain is always just pictured when somebody says, oh, this child is experiencing foster care. I immediately go to a teenage child. I don't go to a baby. So I think that that's just another way that what we learn as we pick up is kind of what we picture.
Yeah, it
And
is.
you don't realize that there's so much,
Oh,
it's so
yeah.
much broader
And
than
so
that.
many different reasons too.
Of course.
Because people always think the worst situation is why a child was removed, but sometimes it's as simple as, their parent had to go to jail,
Oh,
or,
wow.
something as simple as,
I didn't even think about that
yeah.
because you would think they would immediately go to family.
hmm
Sometimes there's not family there, I
Sometimes
guess.
there's not. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
How heartbreaking.
It is. It is.
For the child.
Yeah.
And for the parent too. I'm sure there is a level, of course, of sadness from that parent.
Yeah.
But I can only imagine from an innocent child's perspective
Yep.
how hard that must be.
Yep.
And then for you to be the one that turns around and picks them back up and builds them back together and then says, I'm going to send you off whole back to this home.
Yep.
And
With
you're going to
everything you
be
need.
okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like the words, like for the older children that I've had, like, you're going home today.
Yeah.
Like, we're not just going to a visit today. You're going home today.
Home.
Is like,
and you don't say you're going back to your parents. You say you're going home.
I say you're going home.
That's beautiful.
You're going home today. And I've had two reactions, but I love it here,
Yeah.
I said, but you need to take everything with you. And
Yeah.
so I make sure to send all of their things so that way their home is filled with things they love.
And things that they're used to having
Absolutely.
the last couple of months.
Yes.
Because that's
Yes.
important to a child.
Yeah. Exactly.
I think when you brought up the blanket, when you were like, they have to take away the blanket, that is so deep because I'm sure that to them, like for my brother, he has a blanket. And
Yeah.
that's his comfort. Like if
Yeah.
he doesn't have that, he's not going to be able to relax. So I'm sure that there are children who feel the same way.
Yeah.
Oh man, Cyndi, that's heavy.
And it's it's like learning children. So we've had some come with like no bottles, and I have to figure which one they take. No
my
binky. I have to
gosh.
figure out which pacifier they're taking.
And they have to take that from you.
Yeah.
Whereas like my newborn will not take a pacifier or a
Yeah.
bottle at all.
And
will
they have
not.
to. Yeah.
And she would have to.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Can you give me an example? What's probably like, I mean, you don't have to if you don't want to, of course, but what's probably the worst question you've ever been asked online? Like that you were just like, that is crossing a line.
I think it's that, are you trying to adopt all of these kids? Now that seems lighthearted, okay?
Yeah.
It does. But as somebody who gives their all to potentially, or gives their all to their families and want reunification, asking that question over and over again,
right,
is just kind of hard on me because I don't talk about adoption on my channel.
right.
If it happens, it does. But
it's not why you're fostering.
Exactly. And that's why nobody should foster. I mean, I'm sorry. That's why all foster parents should not foster to adopt.
Right. If you're trying to adopt, you need to go to an adoption agency, not a fostering
The
agency.
goal of foster care is reunification.
Right.
And sometimes it ends in adoption. It does. And there are so many circumstances for it to end that way. And if it needs to, it needs to.
Okay.
I believe that. But don't force that on somebody.
Right.
Because you think that child's okay with me. Wow, you have this beautiful home, this family, does not mean that their family isn't good enough.
Right.
And so I have a hard time because on my account, a lot of the bio families follow me. My agency follows me. The CPS workers, they follow me.
Oh, wow.
And so when they keep asking that question, I know it comes from a good place. I don't think people are trying to be malicious.
Right.
It's just I don't answer it because, you can't put that on me or the child and things like that. And so that's a hard question. It used to be, are these drug babies? I would get that a lot, that question a lot.
Why do people
Or you're in it for the money. Come on now. And so I just, those used to get to me, but I've heard everything now. So to me, it's like the people who repetitively are saying, you're into this adopt. You just want to adopt. You have a baby. You want to, like you're only going to take babies because you want to adopt babies. But that's not the truth.
Right. It's not because
we
of that.
chose ages that fit in our home that we felt comfortable with.
Right.
One day, I hope it's teens. And so if something does in adoption, if I was able to ever adopt, I would love that. I would love to have a child in my home forever.
Right.
But our goal is reunification. And if that doesn't work out, then we would love to adopt, but that's not the end goal here.
I think that's beautiful. I think what you do is so selfless and incredible. It's one of the very reasons why I just love you for who you are as a person.
Thank you.
I think that you're super great. I think that was a lot today.
I know, it was a lot.
That
It
was
was a lot.
pretty heavy. We have some heavy
It was a lot.
episodes
We
coming
do,
at you
we
guys
do.
right now, but we have a lot to talk about.
I try my best to get the words out because I'm very passionate about it. And, being a good representation for the foster care community because it's important for us to share. Yeah. Some people don't want to see us, but it is important for us to share that there are good people out there doing good for these children and really, standing behind what's going towards them. So I'm really passionate about it, you guys. So I hope
we're
that
educating people, and you never know. Somebody might be watching, and they may
yes,
be like, "I could do that. I
absolutely,
could be a foster
absolutely,
parent." That's incredible. I think that
yep,
you're doing incredible work. Well,
yes,
this was very exciting. Thanks, you guys, so much for tuning in today to Mom's the Word, where Mom knows best.
or at least she's trying her best.
She's trying, y'all. She's trying. We will see you
Well,
guys next Tuesday for episode 3.
bye, guys.
Bye.